Hi there, I'm Trish from Trish Newbery Design PDF Sewing Patterns. Today's video is on how to assemble a trimless, a no trim PDF sewing pattern. If you prefer a trim pattern, you will need to use the other video. So there are advantages and disadvantages to both files. It's really up to you. No trim or trimless patterns are really fast to assemble. The only disadvantage I can see is sometimes if your paper is not loaded correctly into your printer, the pages can come out slightly on an angle, but you can adjust that when you tape them together. So navigate to my website and find the pattern that you want to purchase. I'll just use a free one for the purposes of this tutorial. Free patterns and paid ones, you both have to go through the checkout on. So just go to the checkout. Place the order. If it's $0, it won't direct you to PayPal. If you are using a paid pattern, it'll do the same thing, but it will take you to PayPal. Alright, so there we go, the email is sent through. So I'll just go and download that and come back to you in just a second. Okay, so when you open your email, this is what you will get. Anything in orange is highlighted, you can click on. So here you will see it says download, the download button. All you do is click on that download button and it's going to ask you to save that file into a particular place. So I'm just going to skip ahead and I'll continue this by downloading all the files involved in pattern 2037, the Ruby Duster cardigan. I just think it will be easier for this tutorial and we can see what we're going to do. Okay, so here you can see all the files I have downloaded for the Ruby Duster cardigan, and I'll just blow this up a little bit here so we can see what we can do. So there are a number of files. I do separate that for a reason. Some people don't need to print the layout plans, some people don't need to print the construction sequence. It's up to you what you choose to print. Clearly if you have an A4 printer, an A4 paper printer, there's no need for you to have the US letter size files, but you can if you want. I've just downloaded them all here for you to see. So what is the difference with the trimless file? Here it says the pattern number, the name, the trimless and the size. So if you are using an A4 printer, you need to choose the A4 size. If you are using a US letter page size printer, you need to choose that for the trimless. And clearly if you're using the trim pattern instead, you'd be following the other video and you'd be clicking on that trim. So when you've found the file you want, double click on it to open it. It does open in Adobe Acrobat. So I'm just now going to go ahead and open up the A4 pattern. And that will bring me to the screen here. So this is a layered pattern. The files tell you that it is layered there. Now what does layered mean? Well, layered means size layered. So with layers, what we can do is we have these buttons here on the left. This button here will show you all the pages, and we know because they're labelled 1, 2, 3, and each of the patterns themselves you can see the superimprint of the number here on the middle of the page. So layers mean you can choose the size or sizes you want to print. At the moment, this will print all the sizes available, XXS through to 4XL. If, for example, you just sit between the large and the medium, you can turn off the layers you don't want by just unchecking these boxes. Make sure you leave the markings box checked. And that means the pattern will only print out the sizes you want. So if you want to blend between sizes, you can. You can blend true and equalize anything, or say you're smaller at the waist than you are at the hip, you can go from a medium at the waist to a large at the hip. So you need to work that out in advance from the size chart, and the size chart is available on the website listing and is also available on the information sheet when you buy that pattern. All the details are there. So the first thing you need to do is navigate to page 1, which is here. Go on the top one here in page 1. So this tells us the name of the pattern. Make sure you know which pattern you're printing out and you have double clicked the right one. And underneath this says A4 size paper. Now if you have the US letter page size, it will say US letter page. So you need to make sure you have the right one for your right printer. So what we're going to do now is we just want to print out this page, just this one page, and check this size check square. The metric system has metric centimetres, so the size square is 10 by 10 centimetres. The Imperial US letter system has inches, so it is, depending on which pattern it is, it might be 2 inches for a small size check square or 4 inches for a large size check square. My patterns have changed over time, but it will definitely tell you what you need. So what we're going to do is hit File, Print. The first thing we need to do is make sure you have the correct printer chosen, which I do. Then you need to make sure this is actual size. We want to print this out actual size, not custom scale, not fit. It must be actual size. And we only want page 1. So let's just print that out. Okay, so once you have this pattern piece here, well, it's really just the first page of the printout, take a ruler and double check your measurement. So that's correct because that is 10 centimetres by 10 centimetres for me. Clearly if you are using the US, it will be 4 inches by 4 inches or 2 inches depending on your check box. So when you're happy that your check square, your size check square is the correct size and that your settings are all fine and that you've gone on and chosen the sizes that you want or the size that you want, I'm just going to print a median and make sure your markings are on. You can go ahead and print the rest of the pattern now. So you just go File, Print, make sure again that this is on actual size. And you don't need to reprint the first page again. I'm just going to go 2 to 34 and print those out. Okay, so here is our pattern printed out, and I'm a big person on reduce, reuse, recycle, so if you have one side of the page, it's a good idea that you can use your printer to print on the other. So let's just look at these pattern pieces before we go any further. Sorry, let's just look at these pages before we go any further. Each page has a number in the middle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right up to 34, or how many pages the pattern is. Bottom left, it says row and column. So A1, A2, A3, A4, B1, B2, B3, B4. The other thing these patterns have is a lighter colour through here, which is a line, and that's a match point. That's horizontally here. We have a match line vertically here, and in each corner we have circles with X's in it. Now as time's gone on, my patterns have changed. Earlier to this they were little t-shirt outlines to match together, but now I've gone for these circles with the X's in it. It just seemed to be a little bit easier. So it may be slightly different for your Trimless pattern, but most of the time this is what they'll be. So let's have a look at page 1 and page 2. So to match a Trimless pattern, what we're going to do is we want this line here, the side of the paper, to match against the dashed line there. And then if we had a light box or we looked through a window, we want the centre of the X to match perfectly as well. Now most of the time all you will need to do, as long as your paper hasn't gone too strangely into your printer, will be just to match up those points and then tape them together however you prefer. There is the small overlap, but that is just to make sure that they hold in the correct place. There's a bit of an overlap required. So using your preferred method, you can either use stick glue or tape. I'm just going to do this very quickly with tape. Of course, just when you want to find the end of the tape, your tape decides to not let you do it. Okay, so I'm just going to tape these together just roughly at this stage. And as you can see here, A1 has joined to A2. So what we can do now, and I do find it easier using small pattern weights, is now let's get A3 and join that together. And when you print out as well, the other thing is if you look here, part of the pattern will print more on one side than the other. You're just going to, I can't do anything about that from my end as when I'm setting the file up. All you can do from your end is just to be aware of that. And there may be some markings, I try and avoid it, there may be some markings that go underneath that should be on top, but it's entirely up to you. So what we're going to do now is we're going to stick together the whole A row, so row 1. So A1, A2, A3, A4, etc. There is a layout plan on the information sheet. There is also a layout plan on the website listing if you need help. So I'll just go ahead and put together the rest of row A. Right, so now I'm at the end of row A. I'm going to start on row B, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to start on B1, which is column 1, row 2, and I'm going to attach it to B2. And I'll just jump through that now. Okay, so my next page, which is 17, now says C, so I'm just going to pop that aside and just pop row A and B together. So all I'm going to do now we have row 1 and row 2. What I'm going to do now is pick up row 2 and put it on top of row 1. Doing exactly as we did before, but horizontally. So now I'm going to match the horizontal dashed line and the circles. Now you might need to do slight adjustments. As I said, sometimes these files can, when they're being fed into the printer, the pages can get slightly on an angle, but you can slightly adjust them if you need to. It's actually not too bad. I've never had a huge problem with it. So now we're going to join these together horizontally, and it's starting to just look like a regular printed sewing pattern now. You don't have to use sticky tape, you can use stick glue, whatever you prefer. I like this one because it enables me to, if one of the pattern pages is slightly off, I can quite easily unstick these without it ruining the paper, and then I go back afterwards and just double check it. So you can actually see the pattern pieces coming together now. Here is the sleeve. So go ahead and do that for the rest of the pattern, and then you just cut this out like a regular sewing pattern. I've printed these just in black and white on draft. In my patterns the grain lines are in red, contrast pieces are in blue, but generally black and white is fine. So we can see here with the sleeve that it has the cut instructions, the stretch direction, the grain line and the fold line. So thanks for joining me. Really appreciate your comments and your feedback on my Facebook group. I hope this video helps those of you who are new to PDF sewing patterns realise just how convenient they are to be able to print them at home and have a pattern ready to go whenever you want. And don't forget, when you do buy my patterns, they are available in your account history forever. If you lose your hard drive or something happens, you can always download a new copy for later. Thanks for joining me, and thanks for buying my patterns. So don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you can join my channel and get notice of new releases, and I hope you come back and join me again soon.